It's May. This is Geri from Geri's Rainbow Gifts. And things are blooming. It's spring all over the place. We have nasturtiums over there, bachelor buttons, sweet William. In this box we have garlic. About another month and I'll be able to pull it up. And we have an artichoke, has not budded out. And in here are potatoes. You can see the one sprouting up. And this is mint. More sweet Williams. We have sweet potatoes in there and more garlic. My peach tree actually bloomed this year. And let's see if you can see, it does have peaches on it. See that peach? One, little tiny one there. We have about 5 peaches. This is the first year for it to bloom and give me peaches. I'm really excited. Plum tree bloomed, but no plums. And this is my tomato, one of my tomato plants. It is actually an orange tomato, huge leaves on it. It is a, can you see that? Brandywine yellow. I'm excited to see what they're going to be like. Lots of blooms on it, but no tomatoes. And then my white rose bush hasn't bloomed out yet. A few buds on it. And my pink rose smells like cotton candy. It is delicious. Now if we tour around over here, this is a wild rose bush. It's a vine. It bloomed this year. Did not bloom last year. But it has some pretty little, I guess you don't know if you call them pink or red, little delicate blooms on it. And if we go over here, here's a basil that I've let go to seed because it is constantly loaded with the bees. I don't know if can you see those bees? They're just happy as can be. And they like this basil. They are just all over it, which is wonderful. And here we have carrots. 4-foot by 3-foot bed of beautiful carrots. Look at these carrots. Aren't those lovely? And tender and sweet. They are delicious. I'm going to make hot carrots with them. And I believe this is, I plant things and I forget what it is, but it is blooming. And I'm not sure what kind of, if it's a butternut squash or if it's a zucchini, but I believe it's butternut. I don't know, but I hope it produces well. And then over here, this is spaghetti squash. It's doing pretty good right there. And as you see, we have a feral cat. She's a good mouser. She catches gophers. She's wild. She just invited herself to live here. I have a couple beets left in my onions, peppers, and look at this gorgeous chocolate sunflower. It's going to be a massive of blooms soon. Here's one. It's very tall, about 6 foot. It's so pretty. Hope I'm not moving too fast. But it came up on its own. The seeds from the plant last year dropped. The birds ate them and dropped them and replanted them for us. And I have cucumbers down here. They're doing well, have not bloomed yet. And Lola wants to say hi. She helps me garden. And I have, these are called bunching onions, kind of grow in a bunch. They're the green onions you buy at the store for salads and stuff. This tomato plant is left over from last year. Happy camper. And I've planted some I think I planted beets in here, but what is coming up, this plant was in here and it seeded itself, so I have to keep thinning it out so I can have my beets. We're going to take a walk over. I actually planted in the ground this year. I planted corn, I planted green beans, and we have lots of flowers down here. My snapdragons, geraniums, and I have 3 rows, actually 4 rows, of yellow sweet corn right here. And the flowers have kind of taken over. I have potatoes, more mint. I actually put this mint here to ward off bugs, and it took over. That bird's squawking at me, not sure why. And this was supposed to be an onion bed. I planted 25 onions in here, and last year flowers were in here and they reseeded themselves, so I have quite a bit of flowers. Over here I have more cucumbers, sunflowers all against the wall. And over here, on the other side of this black tarp, this is going to be blue corn. Planted it mostly for the grandchildren so they could see it. Pretty excited about it. Well, let's try to scale this wall so we can look at the rest of the garden. And before we get to the garden, all of this morning glory came up on its own from last year's seed. I had a couple plants and it reseeded itself everywhere. Very, very pretty. And another sunflower. This is a yellow one. It's just a 3-footer. It planted itself. Or actually a bird or a squirrel or a gopher could have planted it. Now I have more sunflowers. Let's go into the garden. Planted 10-foot by about 20 foot in the ground. Haven't planted in the ground in 15 years because of all the rabbits, squirrels, gophers, and I've had a very, very difficult time growing the green beans. As you can see, they're finally taking off, but those poor green beans were eaten by a rabbit that we have not been able to catch. And this is a Better Boy hybrid tomato. Actually, there is one tomato on down there. Can you see that tomato? I can't see. I don't know if you can see the tomato. Where is it? Where is it? Maybe if I turn around in another direction, we can see it. Let's get underneath the leaf. And I hope you see it. I can't see because the glare. But there's that little green bean has actually started climbing up the wire. I'm very excited about that. I think I've eliminated the gopher eating it. And over here you can barely see beets coming out of the ground. Little tomato there trying to grow. I planted that one by seed. And I have, let's get over this direction, more blue corn and more sunflowers and some nasturtiums. I want them to take over the sprayer. And see this? This was a gold prize squash. And look at what that rabbit has done. It's struggling to grow. It's even trying to bloom. And the rabbit comes and just eats every leaf. And I have 2 of them there. It's done the same thing. I don't know what I'm going to do. Very discouraging. And then the first thing they ate was all the spinach. Can't even see the spinach. They've done a terrible job for me. And they've eaten, this was a whole row of cucumbers. They've eaten them. And I plant them and they eat them. And I plant them and they eat them. I have one there that got burnt by the sun, but it's trying so hard to grow. It's put on like 4 leaves. And that crazy rabbit just keeps eating it. They even ate my zinnias this year. This is another row of blue corn. I had some onions coming up here, but in this heat of the day, it struggles to see them. I do see some I think those are more beets. I don't see where the row of onions went. Could be that the birds are pulling the onions up. And we have more sunflowers. I just love sunflowers. These I planted. Down here, a couple zinnias, which the rabbit also tried to eat. And outside this, ate all my okra also. Let's see, I do have a few okras. There's an okra. There's an okra. Can you, I don't know, can we see it? There's a couple okra plants. I actually planted like 4 or 5 seeds, so I have quite a few coming up. But they're still trying to eat it. More morning glories. And I don't know if we can get around the fence. Let's see if I know you're looking at asphalt. That's not a very pretty sight. But here we go. There we go. This one's approximately 5 foot tall, just a couple inches. Well, maybe it is taller than me, so about 5'4", I guess. Pomegranate tree, fully bloomed out. I have 2 of them. And if it doesn't get too hot in August, we'll have pomegranates. Look at that little one. But we usually get a heat spell in August. Pomegranates don't like it, and they get burnt. But we should have a nice crop if it doesn't get too hot. Now this is my little dwarf peach tree, and it produces every year. There's a couple peaches here. I have to pull some of them off because you don't want that many growing in one spot. A couple blooms left. Most of them are pretty small. You can't see very many of them yet. Can you see one there? I don't know. There it is. This will have to be taken care of because, oh my goodness, there's a half a dozen on there. You won't get a decent sized peach with all those on there. This is the grapefruit tree. It smells lovely because it's fully in bloom. It doesn't have any well, it does actually. There's some teensy tiny grapefruit just barely coming out. And these are really big ones. I think they're called plumeros or something like that. They get enormous. There's some, where are they at? There they are. Okay. Well, and we'll come around over here to the tangerine tree. It was fully bloomed. And now let's see if we can see any baby tangerines. There we go. A few blossoms left, but mostly a lot of little tiny, there's 3 on that. So we have tangerines, we have grapefruit. The avocado trees should be blooming soon, but we didn't get any avocados last year. It was so hot. It was 4 days of 113 degrees, and avocados do not like that. You can see this one looks a little sad. Probably have to water it today, but they haven't bloomed yet, so I'm afraid I may not have avocados next year again. This is my Granny Smith apple tree, and it has quite a few blooms on it. They're ready in October. No fragrance on those blooms. Another avocado tree way out by the street. And this is apple tree. Look at all the apples. I believe it's an Annie apple. Oh, and here's a fairly good-sized one. Even blush on it a little bit. Well, let's truck on over to the lemon tree. I know you're looking at my yard, 71, and I don't always get all my weeding done. A couple lemons left from last year, still good, and quite a few new young ones. This is a Meyer lemon. It's a sweet lemon. And I know I told you last year my macadamia nut tree actually had macadamia nuts. I was so excited. It was its very first year to produce. I have not gathered them all up yet. Probably a squirrel will do that for me. Let's see if we can see. Yeah, here are a couple macadamia nuts that fell to the ground. They have a little husk on them, and then the nuts inside, you pull the husk off. Probably too close, the focus is not good. See that nut? Then that's a very hard-shelled nut, very difficult to crack. I need to harvest them. There's a bunch on the ground. Now we'll come over here to this is my jalapeno pepper. There's 2 of them there. These peppers have been in the ground for 4 years, and I cut them back every year, and every year they come back and give me a wonderful crop of jalapenos, which I pickle them, and I use them to make hot carrots. Only takes a few. And I'm down to just 1 rooster and 1 hen. You're looking at the asphalt again. I apologize for that. Maybe the rooster will crow for a side.